Informative references. Sources: CNBC, CNN, The Washington Post, PBS News, Al Jazeera. ABC News, January 16, 2026. Historical context: Danish Institute for International Studies, DIs. Chatham House International Affairs Legal Framework, 1951, Defense of Greenland Agreement. 2009 Self-Government Act authors referenced: Ulrich Prom-Gad, Senior Researcher. DIs, Major General Soren Andersen, Joint Arctic Command. Script: before we dive into what just happened, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. You're going to want to follow this story closely. January 16th, 2026. A date that could reshape the entire Arctic. A date that sends shockwaves through NATO. President Donald Trump stands at the White House, microphone in hand, and delivers a threat that makes the world hold its breath. Tariffs, economic warfare, against America's own allies. The reason? Greenland. According to multiple reports from CNBC and CNN published just hours ago, Trump made it crystal clear during a healthcare roundtable event. His exact words echo through diplomatic corridors worldwide. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland because we need Greenland for national security. Let that sink in for a moment. This isn't just talk anymore. This is the President of the United States threatening economic sanctions against nations that refuse to support his territorial ambitions. Nations that include Denmark, a NATO ally since 1949, a partner in democracy, a friend. The tension builds. The stakes couldn't be higher. Here's what you need to understand. As PBS News reported on the same day, Trump had been recounting how he'd already used tariff threats to force European nations to raise their drug prices. He threatened leaders, multiple countries. Raise your prices or face crushing tariffs on all imports. His words, not mine. Then came the pivot, the moment that changes everything. I may do that for Greenland too. 6 words. 6 words that could fracture the Western alliance. If you're getting the severity of this situation, drop a like right now. Share this with everyone who needs to know what's happening. Denmark responds immediately. According to the Washington Post, the Danish government had already begun increasing military presence in Greenland just days before Trump's latest threat. France, Germany, the Netherlands, Finland, Norway, Sweden, all deploying personnel to the Arctic island this very week. The research from the Danish Institute for International Studies reveals something crucial here, something Trump's administration seems to ignore. Denmark's claim to Greenland is legally unquestionable. It dates back centuries. The relationship was solidified in 1917 when the United States itself recognized Danish sovereignty over all of Greenland. Yes, you heard that correctly. America acknowledged Denmark's right to Greenland as part of the deal that transferred the Virgin Islands to U.S. control. In 1951, the Defense of Greenland Agreement was signed. The United States explicitly recognized the sovereignty of the Kingdom of Denmark over Greenland. Black and white in writing, legally binding. But here's where it gets even more complex. Major General Soren Andersen, the chief of Denmark's Joint Arctic Command in Greenland, spoke to CNN on Friday. His focus isn't on defending against American threats. His words cut deep. My focus is not toward the U.S., not at all. My focus is on Russia, a NATO ally. Focused on the real threat, Russia, while the largest NATO member threatens economic warfare over territorial acquisition. The irony is suffocating. Make sure you're subscribed because this story develops by the hour. Hit that notification bell. Al Jazeera reports that a bipartisan delegation of U.S. lawmakers flew to Copenhagen on the exact same day Trump made his tariff threat. 11 senators and representatives, Democrats and Republicans together, their mission? To lower the temperature, to reassure Denmark and Greenland that Congress doesn't support this aggression. Senator Chris Coons, leading the delegation, told reporters there's a lot of rhetoric but not a lot of reality in the current discussion in Washington. He promises to return home and share perspectives that might cool things down, but will it work? Trump hasn't ruled out using military force. He's called Denmark's refusal totally unacceptable. According to CNN, he's declared that anything less than U.S. control of Greenland would be unacceptable for American national security. Here's what the research tells us. The 2009 Self-Government Act, as documented by DI's researcher Ulrich Promgad, recognized Greenlanders as a people under international law with the right to self-determination. Greenland has its own parliament, controls most internal affairs, has the legal pathway to full independence if its people choose. 56,000 people call Greenland home. According to polling cited by CNN, only 25% of Americans support Trump's Greenland acquisition plan. The people of Greenland themselves? They've repeatedly stated they're not for sale. They don't want to become American territory. But Trump sees strategic value. Rare earth minerals, oil, gas, geographic positioning between North America and the Arctic, missile early warning systems, monitoring capabilities against Russian vessels. The question haunting European capitals tonight: will economic threats escalate to something worse? Drop a comment below. Do you think this crosses a line? Should America threaten allies over territorial ambitions? The Supreme Court holds another key piece of this puzzle. According to Yahoo Finance and CNBC, the court is about to rule on the legality of Trump's sweeping emergency tariffs. He's used the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, declaring national emergencies over trade imbalances, fentanyl, and more. The court has delayed ruling twice already. Trump himself posted on social media earlier this week, "We're screwed if the Supreme Court rules against him." That's the President of the United States, publicly panicking about losing his tariff weapon. If the court strikes down his tariff authority, the White House has a backup plan. Senior advisor Peter Navarro told The Hill that a temporary 10% tax on all imports would be implemented before rolling out permanent measures. The tariff threat isn't empty. It's calculated, it's ready to deploy. Meanwhile, Greenland's Foreign Minister Vivian Motzfeldt and Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen met with Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the White House on January 14th, just 2 days before Trump's tariff announcement. The outcome? Fundamental disagreements, according to the Washington Post. Rasmussen told reporters, "It's clear that the president has this wish of conquering Greenland." Conquering. That's the word he used, a NATO ally describing America's intentions as conquest. France and Canada announced they'll open consulates in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, within weeks, a show of support, a diplomatic shield. Aya Chemnitz Larsen, a Greenlandic representative in the Danish parliament, spoke to ABC News about the human cost. "We have talked about the pressure that people are feeling back home in Greenland, real people, indigenous Inuit communities, watching the world's largest superpower demand control of their homeland." Sarah Olsvig, chair of the Inuit Circumpolar Council representing 180,000 Inuit across 4 nations, told the Associated Press the situation reveals how the U.S. administration views indigenous peoples and peoples that are few in numbers. Her conclusion? That really is concerning. If this concerns you too, hit that like button. Let's get this information out there. The European Parliament hasn't yet ratified the recent US-EU trade agreement. Argus Media reports that some lawmakers are already proposing to tie future approval to America disavowing claims on Greenland. Economic leverage cuts both ways. Trump keeps invoking national security. The Golden Dome missile defense system, protection against Russia and China. But as Chatham House legal experts point out, questioning an ally's sovereignty and threatening economic punishment doesn't strengthen alliances, it shatters them. The United States has had military presence in Greenland since World War II. The Pittafik Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base, operates there with Denmark's permission under treaty agreements. Cooperation has worked for decades. Why the sudden urgency for ownership? Ulrich Promgad's research provides context. Greenland's 2024 foreign policy strategy was designed as an invitation to cooperate with America, to reduce dependence on Denmark. But Trump's threatening rhetoric, as Gad notes, basically killed all enthusiasm before taking office, and every reiteration of U.S. threatening rhetoric pushes Greenlandic independence further into the distant future. The strategy backfires. The threats achieve the opposite of their intention. Comment below with your thoughts. Is this about security or resources? Or something else entirely? Back in Washington, protesters gather outside federal buildings. The Justice Department investigates Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey for alleged obstruction. Immigration enforcement operations continue. And amidst all this, the Greenland crisis deepens. CNN polling released today shows public opinion on nearly every aspect of Trump's presidency is negative. A majority say he focuses on the wrong priorities. Does too little about cost of living, but he pushes forward on Greenland. Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican from Alaska, part of the delegation to Copenhagen, stressed to ABC News that Greenland needs to be viewed as our ally, not as an asset, her party, her president. But she draws a line. That's the fracture forming. Not just between nations, within American politics itself. The world watches. The Arctic holds its breath. Denmark's relationship with Greenland evolved over centuries. From colonial rule starting in 1721 when Hans Egede established missions, through World War II when America protected Greenland while Denmark was occupied, the 1953 constitutional amendment that made Greenland part of Denmark, the 1979 Home Rule, the 2009 Self-Government Act, each step toward Greenlandic autonomy, each step toward eventual independence, each step recognized by international law. Now, America threatens to undo it all. Before we wrap, make sure you're subscribed. Turn on notifications. This is developing faster than anyone predicted. Trump's tariff threats represent a fundamental shift in how America engages with the world. Allies become targets. Sovereignty becomes negotiable. International law becomes irrelevant. His own words to the New York Times. I don't need international law. He relies on his own sense of morality instead. That's the president. Rejecting the legal framework that has maintained peace and order since 1945. Greenland's land area spans over 800,000 square miles. Ice covers 80%. The population clusters along the coast in 17 towns with no roads connecting them. The annual block grant from Denmark? $600 million. Essential for maintaining the Greenlandic welfare state. Independence without continued Danish support means economic collapse. That's the calculation keeping Greenland within the Kingdom of Denmark for now. Trump sees vulnerability. He sees opportunity, he sees resources and strategic position. What he doesn't seem to see is partnership, respect, the bonds that hold alliances together. Hit that like button one more time if you think this matters. The tariff threat hangs over Europe tonight. Which countries will Trump target? Denmark alone? The entire European Union? Individual nations that deploy troops to Greenland? Nobody knows. The uncertainty itself becomes a weapon. European leaders scramble. They deploy symbolic military forces. They issue statements. They hope diplomatic pressure from Congress might restrain the White House. But Trump has shown restraint isn't his style. When he wants something, he pushes hard. The Supreme Court decision looms. If they strike down his emergency tariff powers, does that embolden European resistance? Or does Trump find new legal justifications? New emergency declarations? Peter Navarro already has the backup plan ready. This isn't going away. This is the new normal, an America that demands, that threatens, that uses economic power as a cudgel against friends. Drop your final thoughts in the comments. Where does this end? Can NATO survive if its largest member threatens to economically punish smaller allies? Can Greenland maintain its autonomy? Will Denmark hold firm or eventually negotiate? Subscribe for daily updates as this crisis unfolds. The Arctic ice may be melting, but the chill between America and Europe? That's just beginning to freeze solid. Thanks for watching. Hit like, subscribe. Share this with everyone who needs to understand what's really happening. The news media won't always give you the full context, but we will. See you in the next one. Stay informed. Stay vigilant.